Well, you know as well as I, police have authority to make arrests, to do all those things because they are making a citizen's arrest. And in the incorporated city, under state law, the people are hiring you to be designated citizens with special training and weapons, but hired by us to serve, to go out, and it's the same power of citizen's arrest that does that. As soon as an officer steps out of the Constitution and Bill of Rights, they no longer have immunity. Citizens have immunity to shoot a robber coming in their house, just like a cop has the immunity to shoot a robber if he comes to a house and catches them in it and the robber tries something. So it's the same power. They're trying to train us that we don't have that power. Or they're trying to tell us that out-of-control police are above the law or TSA are above the law, but as soon as they step out of the Constitution, they're wide open.
Well, that's exactly right. And 20 years ago, I had to go to in-service at the academy one day. I went in, and a lawyer was there talking to us about 1983 lawsuits because they were starting to occur around the country. I had never even heard about it. And basically it was, if we stepped outside of our privileges given us as law enforcement officers by the Constitution and given to the citizens by the Constitution, if we violated their civil rights, whether it's the Fourth Amendment or whatever, if we violated, we became then personally responsible and were not under the protection of the department. And on top of that, you can add vicarious liability. Vicarious liability says, I'm not only going to sue you, I'm going to sue your boss and your boss's boss and your boss's boss individually and go after your bank accounts, your pensions, your houses, and everything, and you can't be protected.
And this is a big secret. Like Ventura is personally suing, I was about to say Reno, same lady, different time, Napolitano, Mr. Napolitano. Sorry, Mr. Maddow. I'm sorry, Janet Napolitano. I get them all confused, but the point is they are going after her, and even if they in their kangaroo court beat it, you know what cops say: you beat the rap, you can't beat the ride.
Yeah, well. When you start saying vicarious liability, and that I'm not only going to sue you, son, I'm going to sue your boss and your boss's boss, and here it is, a 1983 lawsuit. They know what that is. If they don't, they'll have somebody tell them what it is, and they're going to back off real quick because right then they become personally responsible. They don't hide in the crowd anymore. And once they become personally responsible, and it's their bank account, their pension, and their job, you know what their bosses are going to say? They're going to say, hey, we don't, he was working out of bounds. He or she were on their own. But the problem with that is a vicarious liability lawsuit says failure to properly supervise, failure to properly train. And that does not let the boss off the hook at that point.
Well, I was a few years ago protesting Rick Perry, and an Austin police commander came over with riot cops getting dressed. We were on the sidewalk, not blocking anything, and he said, I'm going to arrest you if you don't leave. And I said, well, Austin's lost lawsuits over this. And he said, I don't care. And this is on video. And I said, well, listen, I'm going to sue you personally. And I said, and this went on. He said, I'm still going to arrest you. And I said, you go ahead. I'm in the right. You're in the wrong. Why on earth would you want to violate the First Amendment that protects you and your family? And he finally went away. But, I mean, cops just need to know the Bill of Rights and Constitution is there to protect them as well as everybody else.
Well, the problem is there's a lot of departments, especially your smaller ones, they get very little training on that. They get a little bit of constitutional law when they go through the academy, and after that, except for once in a while at in-service, they really don't get it reinforced. They're so busy with their nose in the municipal code and the state statutes that they don't pay any attention to the federal law. They don't pay attention to the constitutional law. When Jack McLam was traveling all around, passing out pocket constitutions and lecturing on that to police officers around the country, it was like he had a whole bunch of brand new rookies that didn't know any of that existed. So it's all in education and training and supervision. And if they don't get that, then that's what you're going to run into. And it's really bad in the rural areas and the small towns and the sheriff's departments.
We've only got one more segment coming up, and there's so many issues I want to get in to you. Colonel Craig Roberts, RifleWarrior.com. I know you had a bunch of best-selling books, but do you even sell books anymore there at the site?
Well, I've got the New York City books through Simon & Schuster, One Shot, One Kill, and Crosshairs on the Kill Zone and that sort of thing. And then there's still a couple on the website, but Amazon's got a new release of the Medusa file out that you can order through Amazon.com. And it's got a new cover on it and everything. And the Medusa file is probably the one everybody really needs to read.
Yeah, that's where you really get deep. You can learn a lot from that book about how this whole criminal global network works. Colonel Craig Roberts is our guest. Ron Paul is scheduled to be coming up. I got a million things running through my head. What should I ask him? Boy, I tell you. We'll be right back. Stay with us. No, he worked the case and also investigated the murder of police officer Terrence Yakey by the feds for Cop of the Year, who was one of the first on scene and actually saw what was going on. A lot of new developments on Oklahoma City front. Colonel Craig Roberts, you've been tracking this since it happened 16 years ago. What's the latest info?
Well, you know, there's a lot of questions that are coming up now on the Middle Eastern connection, which is what we were really leaning on back, in 95 and 96, and that Reno and Free and Clinton all said there is no Middle Eastern connection, and at that point the FBI just said, okay, we're not going to deal with it. Where there is no Middle Eastern connection, we'll go chase, wild geese someplace else. Well, we have documents that have surfaced from the Philippine intelligence services where Nichols, had gone to the Philippines on several occasions, did not have a job, had no money, yet he was able to fly back and forth to the Philippines, stay in hotels, and go to meetings with Abu Sayyaf. And the documents that surfaced from the Philippines name the names of who he met over there, and one of them was Muhammad Wali Khan, who was tied to the Sheikh Khalid Mohammed. Well, Sheikh Khalid Mohammed, of course, was one of the right-hand men of in Al-Qaeda, and his nephew was Ramzi Youssef, and Ramzi Youssef, whose real name was Bassett, was the planner for Operation Bojika, which was going to blow up a dozen American jumbo jets, and that failed when his apartment caught fire. And now
you talked about this a decade ago, but now more documents have come out.
Right.
But people get confused. You're saying clearly ATF involved. You got McVeigh now. They got sworn affidavits from Nichols and others that he was sheep-dipped out of special operations. You've got German intelligence there. You got Jane Graham seeing McVeigh in the building, the gray sticks of butter. This is a classic criminal network operation, because that's what Clinton would hire, would be a group, so that it's so confused. Just like with Kennedy, nobody can understand how it was run. Is that where this is going?
Well, yeah, pretty much. It's now we have documents that name and pretty much date Nichols in the Philippines meeting with members of Al Qaeda, and it goes all the way to a guy that then we called Osama bin Laden with a U, which is his actual real name, and they changed it to Osama sometime later on. In fact, I even mentioned him in the Medusa file back before 9/11. No one ever acted like they ever heard of this guy before, but we stumbled onto him. But anyway, we've got those documents showing there's a definite Middle Eastern connection. It goes to where? Pakistan. And it goes to the area between the Pakistan border and the Afghan border, and then across the border into the terrorist training camps that were originally set up by the CIA to train the Mujahideen to fight the Russians. And we've got all of this evidence. Plus, we've got the names of Americans that are involved that ran a travel service to the Philippines out of Scottsdale, Arizona. And all of this was, a lot of this went to Jana Davis, and Jana took it to the U.S. Attorney, took it to the FBI. They didn't want to see it. They didn't want to touch it.
Craig, we're almost out of time. From your deep research of this, best we can tell, who was running the operation? How were the different players involved?
Well, it's hard to put your finger on who exactly pushed the green button that said make it go, but we know who was covering up the operation, and that tells us a lot. You've got the entire Clinton regime that covered up the actual leads to the Oklahoma City bombing. You had special agents of the FBI out of New York, I think it was, that came in and refused to investigate the actual leads that we came up. We've got
the head of counterterrorism was there the night before and got caught lying about it.
Well, and we've had them change reports, change witness statements, intimidate witnesses. Terrence Yankee, of course, he ended up dead. Several other people ended up dead that saw things they shouldn't have seen, that talked about it. Jane Graham, who saw Andrea Strassmeyer in the basement of the Murrah building. We've got all of these things, but you can't get anybody to do anything about it, because that tells you if you do something about it, it's going to lead someplace to a... What
does that mean when you got Muslim extremists, terrorists, you got German intelligence, you got McVeigh running around, you got the ATF running around? I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, and it's a soup sandwich. And the thing about it is, when you do come up with good leads, and you've got the federal government who refuses to address those leads, who doesn't want to see it, doesn't want to touch it, that tells me everything I need to know. If I'm going to arrest a guy and I can't get the prosecutor to go along with it, I'm powerless.
Incredible. And, of course, about the case where the lawyers have been getting different FBI documents where one set's blacked out in one area, the other in the other, and they're able to put them together and find out that the Southern Poverty Law Center was basically running Elohim City.
Oh, yeah. Andrew Strassmeyer was reporting straight to the Southern Poverty Law Center. I mean, those people are the ones that derailed the investigation. They actually had the whole thing twist away from the Middle Eastern connections and the actual what the witnesses actually saw, at the scene, and they twisted it all around to where it was all Elohim City and bank robbers and yada yada, which was a false flag, false front, false lead from the very beginning.
All right, Colonel Roberts, look forward to having you back soon. God bless you, my friend. Ron Paul's coming up. Colonel, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great week.
Keep your bayonet sharp.
All right, buddy. We'll be right back.